Welcome to the DriveLife podcast. Welcome to a very special summer special podcast. We're going to cover kind of the main three events that we did over the summer or attended over the summer. It's just amazing, absolutely incredible. Few things to cover here. So I don't even know where to start, but I think the logical place is Europe. It's sort of chronological almost. So we spent 2 weeks tearing around roads in Europe.
We did. So all four of us were there. Only two of us did remember the T-shirt for this one. But less said about that, the better. But it was a challenge. So we have done this tour. This year will have been the third time we're doing the tour. But because of COVID, we had the tour cancelled for 2 years on the trot. 2020 and 2021. So we had such a waiting list of STUK members wanting to attend the Europe tour that we decided to run it back to back. So we did it, the exact same tour, 2 weeks on the trot in the first 2 weeks of July.
So we made it go live, didn't we? Because obviously the event went live in August last year. And normally with like sort of events like this, it normally takes a couple of days or so before the kind of spaces to kind of fill up and get taken up. But I think it was something like 15, 20 minutes, all the spaces were gone.
Yes.
Done.
That's right, yeah.
And then of course we obviously have the reserve list, and then also then filled up with like more than enough space for another trip.
Yep.
So it was like, I don't know, it was 25 people on the reserve list or something like that, which we'd never seen before.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a massive appetite for it. And it made sense that when we looked at the calendar and looked at the availability of the venues we were going to, it kind of made sense that we could make it happen again. We couldn't have done it without the support of certain STUK and company ambassadors, two of which sat with us today, and you guys were on my trip. Sean ran week one with some other ambassadors, and you guys did week two. But yeah, it was quite a trip. In a sense, I guess, quite maybe a bit of it feels like a bit of a personal achievement at our end. That it was certainly, I guess, an ambitious thing for us to do that, because not only is it one of the hardest tours to organise and run anyway, but then to decide to do it twice and, spread ourselves thin across the 2 weeks was, potentially a big ask. But I think that overall we'd probably all agree it went pretty well. So
I think it did, yeah.
Quite a trip.
The weird thing for us is obviously three of us were on the second week and you were on the first week. So we have no common ground on this thing happened or that thing happened. But between us, it's not like we all did week one and then did week two again with different set of members. It's sort of two.
I'd like to think it like this, right, Martin? Is that we were the fall guy, so we made all the mistakes that need to be made and cleared the pathway for week two. So you've got us to think about. It was week one, boys.
Yeah,
it worked.
I mean,
change the perspective from our point.
Yeah.
I think the for those who don't know, we all met up at Porsche Hull. It's the first time I've been to Hull, actually, I think. No, it's the first time I've been to Hull in daylight. So I bought
do we need to go
think
into
about
that?
what you were?
I bought a car from Hull once, but it was dark by the time I got Anyway, that's a long story. But I was surprised at how nice it was. That was the first thing. I was like, just throw some shade on Hull here, but it's not got the best of reputations.
It's better than you saying the other way around, though.
Yeah.
I was surprised how horrible it was. If you said that, then maybe it should.
No, it's fine.
No, I agree with you.
So say Porsche Hull were very accommodating.
They were. It was a really good start, a good place to start the trip, and the ferry crossing and everything was all good from there as well. So good place to start, and then we basically got out of the Netherlands and into Germany. Stayed in Germany. It was kind of just like dull motorway drives, but the the Germany stop at the V8 hotel in Stuttgart, that was amazing. That was, we could have spent far more time there than we ended up doing. And a real sort of, I guess, hidden gem from an anticipation point of view, right? Because I didn't know, I just thought that was a hotel stop and didn't know anything about it. But it turned out to have this really awesome museum and
A McLaren dealership just off reception.
yeah, Ferrari over the road, Lamborghini were
Round
there.
the corner, yeah.
And from an organisational perspective, it's a really hard balance when you are doing a trip that's over in Europe. You obviously want to get the bulk of the mileage out of the way on day one, so you've got the maximum amount of time to enjoy the good roads, but then also give people enough time to enjoy certain elements. And that was a hard balance because, like, I'm sure that you felt the same on trip one, exactly what Martin is saying. You could have spent double the amount of time there easily that we were.
We've already spent more time than we should have done already.
Yeah, yeah.
It was a great venue.
But it's that balance of going that far on day one. Yes, we were driving until 5, 6 p.m. and then leaving at 9, 10 the next morning. So we didn't actually get that long at the venue, certainly during its opening hours. But regardless of the low amount of time we spent there for a petrolhead orientated trip, it was still a fantastic destination to be in.
Well, a couple of, I think it was about 3 or 4 of our group, actually, there was, because we set off, our main group set off from Hull, obviously got the ferry down. But there was probably about 4 or 5 of the group were actually coming from the south, so it actually made more sense for them to kind of get the tunnel. So they did get the tunnel, and actually they came down the previous day to us, and made a bit more of an event of being in Stuttgart. So they went to see the Porsche Museum and a few other bits and pieces. So they were quite well and relaxed by the time we turned up after spending a day on the Autobahn, which is not a bad thing.
No, I think quite a lot of people wandered around the museum anyway and got some enjoyment out of that. So off air, before the recording, we all thought about some stories to come up, to bring on, discuss, share on the podcast, little aspects of the trip. But one of mine was from there, which is Harry was on the week 2 things from a media perspective, and Harry found there's a sim racing place inside the museum, so it's not obvious that it's there. It's sort of up on the upper level and down a corridor, but there's the full motion sort of sim rigs in there, and so we got there just in time to do the sort of last session of the day, right? And we decided, well, what cars, what tracks, do you want to drive a track that you know reasonably well, and cars that you sort of know or whatever. And so I picked a 720S, and we agreed on Spa as the circuit. And Harry just disappeared off into the distance, left me for dead. So then I just had my, I've done 3,000 miles on the road in a 720S at a reasonable pace. Yeah, couldn't live with Harry. Disappeared off. So the starts of the trip, you're like, yeah, you can't really drive, at least not in a sim.
Fortunately, that didn't translate into real driving.
Yeah. Harry didn't leave me. Well, the media car, the fastest thing on the road, isn't it?
Yeah, true. Yeah, until the
literally
end.
drove the wheels off it.
Yeah.
We were
we'll
probably the last group to arrive at the V8, so we didn't really get much chance to have a scoot around. But from my point of view, I think it's a good way of planning the next trip.
Yeah.
Solo trip. It whets the appetite, doesn't it? And it gives you ideas, and hopefully people will take that as a positive. Yeah, okay, there's a lot to look around in Stuttgart, isn't there?
Yes.
And we didn't have anywhere near enough time to do that on this trip, so hopefully it's whet their appetite to go back and explore more.
Trips. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So from there it was onwards to somewhere else. I think then that next.
Can I just ask if anybody left the pens in the room?
Fat chance of that. I didn't.
I brought the pen home.
Yeah. Me too. Yeah.
So I'm going to say, are we talking about what freebies we managed to get from hotels?
There was a
car-shaped pen.
In fact, if you wait there 1 second.
Oh, he's still got it.
He's brought it with him.
It comes back with a set of towels in the bathroom.
There we go. Hand
You did.
stolen in Germany, V8 hotel
They
pen.
were awesome.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's why they didn't.
I thought it was so nice. I thought it'd be rude to steal it.
So,
I got that email saying we're not allowed back.
Yeah, it's that one. Yeah.
assuming the rate of pen theft.
It's
I mean,
being penalised. Okay.
Oh dear.
It's just going to go mad.
The
Yeah,
only
well-
way is up from that joke.
all the rooms had cool artwork as well on the walls, didn't they?
Great hotel.
So, yeah, it was a really nice hotel. Yes,
And there
I
are many
reckon everyone-
more in Germany as well. The V8 hotel and Motor World. They're a chain, so they
Right,
have quite a
like
few. of them.
V6, V10, V12 hotel.
Me-
yeah.
Oh, yeah. I think they're all called V8, but yeah, that's
Right.
not a bad idea. So
On brand.
you were saying from there we went
Yeah,
to
from there, that's a blur for me.
so obviously you had a morning of Mart Autobahn where
Yeah.
you're heading through the Black Forest, but you were Autobahn in it.
Yeah.
through the Black Forest. When we did that in day one, we had quite a mixture of weather. It was quite bad, and then we had a big traffic jam getting over the border into Switzerland,
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and then literally probably maybe 45 minutes in Switzerland, and then you start hitting the great stuff going up Clausen
Yeah.
Pass, where then hit more weather. Because I know we hit it, and I know you hit it the same
Yeah.
time as well.
Yeah. So our trip through the Swiss border, we'd learned from you guys sacrificing yourselves in week one
What's about?
to stay left
Get
because all the
left
truck
And use the bus.
I was
and use
so
the bus lane.
I must have stayed left for about 50 miles because I was so concerned about like Sean saying, whatever you do, do not be in that right hand lane.
Yeah,
And it made sense when we approached it. Oh, that makes
Yeah.
sense now. But
There
yeah,
was-
thank you for
But
the
the thing
heads
is,
up.
because I was in it, and I saw that there was a lane, because obviously you're reading different traffic lights, signs and all the rest of it. And I go, see, that one's for lorries and buses. I think, well, why has that got their own special lane? And then when you realise you go further down, it was just like, looks like miles and miles of standing traffic. I think I'm so glad I'm not in that lane. And then it keeps going on. And then I think we were in, the second group behind at that point, and I heard him on the radio saying, oh yeah, just keep in the left-hand lane if you can. So I thought, all right, okay. So I got in the left-hand lane. I thought, I'm in the bus lane here. Because we're passing all other cars, and then we're passing group one.
Mhm.
And I thought, oh my God. And then policeman's like looking at one of these, flagging me down, and he's stopping me. I think, oh, he sees I'm an idiot. Stopping us. So we got stopped and searched and passported and all the rest of it and everything. And no gloves. Gloves were right. But the thing is that then, so I thought we were doing really good because we got right at the front, which we had. But then, because it stopped us all, then everyone else that were in group one still got passed ahead
Right.
anyway. But yeah, so keep left.
Yeah.
Keep left.
It definitely worked.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
There-
absolutely.
We were straight through. Not. I don't think anybody was stopped in our group.
No, there was a point where there was some sort of motorhome doing something weird, and quite a few cars on Swiss plates were driving on the other side of the road. But just where they were doing that was the start of what's effectively a dual carriageway. So there's a central reservation and a barrier. So if anyone gets this wrong, you're just going to end up having a head-on collision. We just waited for whatever the motorhome was doing, and they got out of the way. So we didn't risk that. But all the locals were just like, fine, just hoofing it up this dual carriageway the wrong way, which was alarming to say the least. But no one died, so it was all good. And then we were in Switzerland, and that's straight into weather.
Yeah, yeah.
Try it
that's an
first.
understatement.
Oh no, we had to stop for 80 litres of oil first, didn't we?
Yes, for Crazy, as it was
Yeah.
nicknamed.
Yeah, so there's a 308. Full
GTS.
credit for bringing a 308 on a trip like that, and
Absolutely.
leaning into it with all the Magnum PI dress and everything
Yeah.
like that. But due to either Italian electrics or old age or whatever, there was some concern that between the ferry and the V8 hotel that this 308 had consumed all of its engine oil, and so there was thankfully a Ferrari dealership right at the hotel, so it was checked over and it was topped up, and they gave him about 10 litres of oil just in case.
In a 25-gallon drum.
Yeah.
That's all they had. So that was in the passenger seat.
So then at every petrol station, every opportunity, every loo break, every lunch stop,
It
anything,
was oil check.
just draining all of the oil out of all of the petrol stations, and anywhere that sold oil, we called in at. And it ended up being completely fine. There was no actual oil leak or oil consumption. It was
just literally using it.
no, I don't think it needed another drop of
It was
oil.
burning a little bit. You could smell
Right.
it. But
Yeah, it wasn't.
in fairness,
It wasn't anything like as precipitous as it was on the
No.
first
Sally
day.
could have been proud.
Yeah. So we were all thinking, wow, there's the one car that's definitely not going to make it on this trip. It's the 308, and no, it was absolutely fine. But
Crazy Ian, as it was known.
yeah,
Yeah.
Registration was CRA2Y, hence crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But-
it's one of the best plays I think I've ever seen.
Yeah, absolutely
good.
Yeah.
suited the car and the owner.
Yeah.
In terms of like leaning into the whole Magnum PI and the dress.
Did I
and the
see a
308.
Magnum PI video come out of the Europe trip somewhere?
It's to come out. It's
Oh,
been
did
done.
I?
But yeah,
Oh,
we'll
okay.
go on socials. A nice little reel that Harry at Aaron has put together, Magnum PI orientated.
Nice. Nice.
But yeah, but before we finally move on from the V8 Hotel, is like, how many times do you go on holiday and happen to have an official Ferrari dealership next door to the hotel
Yeah.
that can provide you with like all of the service requirements required for a 308 Ferrari? It was,
Yeah.
But we'd got McLaren next door.
yeah,
And Lamborghini.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
but Pagani, I think, as well.
Yeah, it's Pagani was there. Yeah.
And Lambo,
yeah,
Porsche.
Yeah, the full
Bentley.
complement. Bentley were there.
Bentley were there. Yeah.
yeah.
All
Yeah.
around that hotel, weren't they?
Yeah,
See?
definitely.
We think
yeah.
of everything.
Yeah.
No, it's
Not
sort of
Jaguar
full service.
dealership, but, we didn't need one.
The full service experience. So then we were in Switzerland.
Yeah.
Full of oil, all essential fluids topped up or drained as appropriate, and then off into the mountains.
Did you have any cow problems?
Yes,
There were a few
Definitely.
around.
yes. They don't care, do they? It's like half a ton of beef.
Well-
Just like, what are you going to do?
It was a highlight of my whole trip, and it was, at the time, it felt like a horrendous experience, and it's something that now I think myself and pretty much everybody else on the trip actually looks back on pretty fondly as quite an experience. So
Yeah, definitely.
we'd just begun to climb. We'd finally got off motorways, finally got onto the mountain roads, and we'd begun to climb. And the media car was waiting for us at the first photogenic spot that we were already aware of. We got there, stopped just for 5 minutes for photos, of which, if you look back on the photos now, you can actually see it's almost like the cloud stalking us, like the cloud is literally coming in the photos behind my car. And then we set off, and it was, without doubt, we drove through the middle of a storm. It wasn't just raining. That was the worst weather I've ever driven in.
Mhm.
However, what really added to it was that we're climbing a significant height on these Swiss mountain roads, and there are cows everywhere, and they were all absolutely fine. They were not fazed by the rain until it started hailing. And the minute it started hailing, it was just like every cow for themselves. And they ran in every direction. But it was really foggy. So you had a couple of seconds to realize that each cow was coming towards you. And for the most part, they were fine. They were dodging the cars. But we were real concerned because I had a bright red GT3 behind me. And I heard people on the radio saying, I think that cow was quite annoyed by your red car, and it looked like it was going to charge it. But we've got video of it, which we may share on socials one day. But it was really an experience, because we've driven that's the third time we've driven that road. And the first 2 times it's been like blazing sun. But to drive through a storm, almost to finally get above the cloud, that's what it felt like. It really was an
Should
experience.
point out as well is that the kind of barriers that you have at the side of Swiss roads is not the kind of like, double strength arm core that we're used to in the UK. It's literally a couple of posts with a bit of fishing wire.
Yeah.
They're not there
at
to stop
best.
you going
Looking
off.
like-
They're there to mark the edge of the road.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
They absolutely wouldn't stand up to, even a human falling over, let alone a car.
Yeah. Well, when you've
Benefit
got
to me and to our group, wasn't it? They cleared everything out of the way.
Yeah, I mean, we still had. So by the time
biblical
we got
rain.
there, yeah,
No hailstones, but biblical rain. I mean, it was.
the road was a river, pretty much by the time we got there,
Yeah.
and it was just torrential rain, no hail. But the highlight of that particular section was just the misery on Josh and Harry's face as we drove past them. They were trying to get photos. And it was clear they were just like, "Yeah, I've fully had enough." Wet through
on
to
day one.
on day
On day
one,
one.
wet to the bone. You could see them get credit. They got some photos, but you go past just these 2 sodden figures stood at the side of the road, because obviously they don't know how far behind we are. They could stay out and they get some photos. So taking delight in their misery a bit there. But it was really funny going past. Good chuckle.
Watch
Sorry,
this
Harry.
space for 2024. Cars and cows could be
Cars and cows and rain and wet
Yeah.
photographers.
No, we've done our like allowance of rain No,
this year's been very wet.
For the next 5 years.
Yeah.
It's been fine, thank you. Because I think that the weather-wise, maybe not to that extent, but our weeks were very similar, weren't they? In that you had the first 2 or 3 days of fairly frequent rain. So did we. Something that we weren't, I guess, strictly anticipating. You drive all that way into...
It did not ruin the event, though.
No, absolutely, yeah.
100%.
No, yeah. Added to the fun, right?
Added to the fun, yeah. There was some things that would have been cool that were stopped by fog. So the sort of group photo at the top of by the lake, there was a lake stop where we planned to do some drone photos and some group photos. And quite honestly, like,
pass?
I can't remember that. Yeah. But I wouldn't have been able to see Mike at this distance out in the car park on that particular day.
Yeah.
So we weren't able to do that. And I had a couple of chastening moments where fog in tunnels, that was a new thing for me. So there's one bit where you came into a tunnel, it was foggy inside the tunnel, and at the last second they've obviously put some, it must have happened before, put some chevrons inside the tunnel, and if those chevrons weren't there, I'd just driven straight into the tunnel wall because it was just fog. You couldn't see a damn thing. And I wasn't going quickly, I was doing 15 miles an hour maybe, if that. And I promise you, if those chevrons weren't there, I would have driven straight into the black tunnel wall because it was so foggy.
That tunnel, so it's the one we talked. I think I say once, the Sussex Pass tunnel. It's closed for a good part of the year. It normally opens up about 2 weeks before we plan our trip, and then it closes normally sort of mid to late October. So it's, let's say, that's due to the altitude that it's obviously at. Now, when we was heading up there, we had a bit of sort of bad weather, like you guys had as soon as it sort of hit Switzerland. But by the time we start getting this sort of height, you're starting to get above it, and the clouds are breaking through. We're getting the sun. It's starting to kind of, it's brilliant and twisting. You're getting on the mountain. I knew this tunnel was coming because we'd done it a few times. And obviously, I'd said to the guys on the radio, I said, look, just watch out of the tunnel because there's generally ice still because the snow is still melting that sort of time. So just watch out for the ice because, you're not normally just see it at either side of the tunnel anyway. And again, I knew this tunnel was coming up, but when we went into the tunnel, I thought, I know I'm in the tunnel, but I can't see the other end of the tunnel because this is clear daylight. I said, I can't see, and I look like I'm driving towards a brick wall. It's just like, I can't see the end of it because the fog was at the other end of the tunnel and you were just driving in to this whiteness, total different weather condition from one side of the mountain to the other, and that was a really strange.
Yeah. We had that where we went into the tunnel, one tunnel in sunshine, and came out in torrential rain. And honestly, the radios are a godsend for things like this because obviously it's lead car. So I was leading one of the groups, and you're the canary in the coal mine. You come out the other end, and honestly, it's like 2 inches of standing water on the road. It's like you're just very lucky not to aquaplane off the road at that point because the transition is so stark from more or less dry road inside the tunnel into spray coming up off both wheels over the car. Just get on the radio and say you all need to back off because you can have an enormous accident if you hit that. Yeah, it's slightly damp coming out.
Quite
and
a
everyone's
contrast
like,
because when we hit Stuttgart, we hit 39 degrees in Stuttgart.
Yeah, it was warm.
So we're expecting quite a warm run.
Yeah,
particularly going south and higher.
Well, we had a bit of a thunderstorm event in Stuttgart that night, didn't we?
Yeah, the tables were blown away.
Full Hollywood thunderstorm.
Yeah,
crashing and banging and blowing food off the table. So we were sat outside eating at the time.
Yeah.
We had to rescue the brownies and go back inside. But
those brownies, I'd forgotten about those. Yeah, yeah. But I mean, the weather added to it because you just sort of changed it up. It added a new dynamic to it. Going over the top of Furka, I think where the Goldfinger Hotel is.
Yeah.
That was again for us week 2, impenetrable fog, and then you come over the top. It's basically a single lane road, isn't it? With passing places, single track with passing places over the top. So there's oncoming traffic that can't see you and you can't see them. So it's all a bit worrying, in thick fog. But you come over the top and it's blazing sunshine and great photo opportunities down at the hotel.
Belvedere,
yeah. And I know that one of the photos from that stop made it into the Red Line magazine article. I know there was another.
Yeah, hats off
really
to
good,
Harry's editing skills on that one. Made it look like it was completely secluded. it was absolutely heaving.
Well,
there was us, there was another Porsche club who
Oh, yeah.
turned up exactly the same time with loads of very nice Porsches, to be
Yeah.
fair to them.
Classic Porsche,
So yeah, it was a
lots of
busy
tourists.
spot, very busy spot,
yeah.
but an incredible place of the world. And so we spend 3 days of the whole tour, don't we? Once we cross into the Switzerland, over the border into Switzerland, we spend 3 whole days touring as many of the more iconic passes as we can.
Yeah.
And they're just, it's another world out there. They are definitely an experience. The Grimsel Pass is probably one of my favourites, because you can drive that, you can pair up Suston Pass and Grimsel Pass, but we obviously stay at a hotel kind of halfway or at the beginning of Grimsel. I don't remember exactly where, but
It is
on the Grimsel Pass route. But that again is it's an incredibly breathtaking location, certainly for a hotel.
Yeah.
But
it's actually on a dam, and you've got to drive across the dam wall to get to the hotel. And one thing I didn't mention is actually a documentary on TV at the moment about that dam, and apparently the dam's failing at the moment. So that's why they're building another dam in front of it, because at some point that dam's going to fail.
That wall's cracked. Yeah.
Well, hopefully
Good to know.
Yeah, definitely.
Hopefully we're not staying in the hotel when it
go. But yeah, so that's just in terms of I guess the chronological order. That's the first Swiss hotel that we stay in. So we cross the border, do passes for that day, stay in that hotel. It was certainly on our trip. I think the weather was a little bit kinder to you at that hotel than it was to us. But it was a very bizarre experience that we were in the first floor restaurant, and literally the fog engulfed the hotel, so you couldn't see an inch out. We were like dining in a cloud, basically.
Yeah.
I know you guys were doing photos lower
Trying
down.
Trying to, yeah.
Took the there was a brief moment of sunshine. I thought, this is brilliant. Went to my car, which was 10 meters away. Got the drone out. Got the drone, set up. By the time the drone had taken off, fog. Just we had a brief, 5 minutes of sunshine, and it would have been a really nice photo, but it was just foggy. But it's not. I guess it's not fog. It was just the speed at which the clouds come in, because it's
I don't think you
just get whipped up.
I don't think you appreciate until you're there the speed of the weather change.
Yeah,
you've got to watch flying drones around there. Apparently, they can hit things.
You just always to bring that up, don't you? Always, every time.
I've had counselling since, and I'm still suffering.
Still not over it.
All right. Well, I crashed it, but I landed it. So
you flipped it mid-air.
All right. I semi-crashed it, but it made it home safely. That's all that matters. It was 50-50 whether it went in the bottom of a lake or made it home. And there was a lot of swearing when I saw those wires coming into view, pylons coming into view. But anyway,
they made it.
Less said about that, the better.
Anyway, yeah.
But it is a very scenic place, and even though it was foggy and the weather was a bit hit and miss, we still got some really great photos from there. And we managed to get some great night shots on the dam with Mark's car as well. They're really good. So yeah, I think we took some rollers, and there was just that little area is really the proper definition of epic. It's a really great place for content and just great photos of cars. And so I think a few people might look back on that opportunity as a missed opportunity because they chose to stay in bed or have breakfast or whatever instead of going out early and getting the rollers, getting the content that was shot in the morning. And if you're on future tours, if you come on that Alpine tour again, which is bookable now, isn't it? So yeah, if you do book on, don't that particular hotel, don't miss the opportunities to get out and get some content.
It's a fair point, that, because obviously we've got the likes, Josh, Harry, Peter, that came on those 2 weeks of trips, and they're eagerly excited about getting content, getting the photos, and they'll be up, 5 o'clock in the morning to get that sunrise because they want to get it. They love doing that, and those people that can make it and get out of bed will be rewarded if they get the cars there, because there's some awesome shots they got from that. Yeah,
the dual car rollers, they were really good. The sort of chase, almost sort of car chase photos that came out of those morning sessions were some of the best content that the club's ever produced, I think. So, really good media. So yeah, just for future reference, lean into the media stuff if you've got an interest in that sort of thing. You just got to be up early to get it, and doing that stuff is a highlight. I was out at night taking some photos and being involved in some of the media side of things, and it's good fun.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bit of a highlight for us as a team running it, isn't it? Doing some of the media side of it.
Yep. Yeah. It's these opportunities are easily missed because you're only there once.
Absolutely.
And if you want to see the results, check our website, or also check out the Redline magazine, because quite a few of those shots from that media session you're talking about were the ones that were selected to be printed, and they came out very good.
Yeah, definitely. So that was a mini highlight for a few of us, I think. So just trying to think what's next, sort of chronologically, try and do it in order.
So, well, I mean, we covered a lot of the Swiss passes. We know we don't have to go into each one, but I guess essentially we ended the driving of the passes at Brunnen, which is a lakeside hotel area, and
on the edge of Lake Lucerne, isn't it?
Yes, yeah, and I think, well, you've got to, I guess, be there to experience it, but it's out of this world as a location. Absolutely incredible.
Yeah, it's a staggering backdrop,
incredible
from there.
Yeah, and a rest day, which is a really important thing to build in. And some people had a lot of fun on their rest day.
Really?
Yeah. Did anything come out of week one on the rest day? That was,
we had one of the photographers. His name begins with P and ends with Eita. And he did have a little bit too much to drink. He wasn't driving, so it's fine. But he had to be up for the media day the next day. He was very quiet, very slow. Yeah, definitely not his usual chirpy self. And rumor has it that he made use of the stick packets in the back of the media car quite a lot. Nobody wanted him to be a passenger seat next to him anyway. He was not very, but he still got up and still took the photos and stuff. But yeah, it was a bit worse for wear. But no, it was. I enjoyed that hotel there. It's good. It's good.
It's quite surreal on that. Is it Gotthard Pass?
Yeah.
It's almost like a wacky racers type circuit. We seemed to keep passing all the groups as we were going up.
So that way on the media day.
We went that way on the media day.
No,
on the main day.
Yeah, on the I think day 2 on the before the Belvedere Hotel, we go
the road up from Tremolo.
Yeah, near Tremolo. Okay. But there's that slip road that's really easy to miss.
Yes,
and then you end up going up the cobbled area. But then maps will reroute you, but it essentially takes you like up and down and then back up, and it's I know exactly where you made that mistake.
It was really good fun.
That's Group 1.
Yeah,
yeah.
There's actually 2 roads, at least 2, or possibly 3.
There's 3
that they actually. Sorry, just smacking. But the crossover, like you say, that it's almost
and they all sort of end up at the top of Gotthard Pass, don't they?
Yeah. It looks like a bit of like scale electric racetrack sticking out at the side of the mountain. Actually,
it is. Yeah.
Of course, there's a 10-mile long tunnel that goes straight through the middle of it as well.
Yes, there is.
Almost like a slide that goes down the middle.
Yeah. So we drove that tunnel on our take on the media day, which is an interesting thing. But the rest day, someone slept on the roof.
Really?
That was again
the roof of the hotel or roof of the car?
No, hotel, I think.
Oh, okay.
Due to excessive imbibement. Yeah.
This sounds like something out of sort of that Stag Night film. What's they call it now?
The Hangover. Yeah.
Expect the whole film on the roof of the hotel.
Yeah. So there was one of our attendees going out for a very early morning jog past them on the stairs. They weren't conscious on the stairs, but
asleep on the stairs.
Asleep on the stairs. That was not the sort
apparently he chose the stairs after he'd been in the sauna. He slept in the sauna for quite a while. He couldn't find his room. But there you go.
Disclaimer, it was the rest day. We were not driving that day.
He was a passenger.
He's a passenger on his rest day. But it's still absolutely hilarious.
We shall remain unnamed.
Remain unnamed. Yeah. But the media day itself, certainly on week 2, that's noteworthy, because basically we were having an evening beverage in the bar, and basically looking when you look at where Lake Lucerne is on a map, and if you just draw a line in a straight line, it's only about 80 something miles to Como or thereabouts.
What, in Italy?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so Como is one of my favorite places on earth. So saying, well, we don't have to go, we don't have to go west. we can go south for the media day and take in the original route of one of the passes that we were going to do, and then just keep going, and we'll end up in Italy, and it'll be great. And it's about the same amount of driving as the media day anyway. Does anyone fancy going to Como? And I think Mark was just like, I'm going to bed. and therefore lost control of the situation, and we ended up in Como. And a few,
well, some of you did.
Some of us ended up in Como. Those of us who didn't abandon our mobile telephones in the cafes on the way. But that was a
Mile
really...
and a half.
That was
so
a
I
really
must
good
point
day.
out to anyone that's listening to this is that we generally run organised, successful, planned routes that, you know, lots of planning put ahead. And even on the basis of that, we're just making up some of it as we go along.
Well, only on that day. You know,
that was the rest day.
It was the
so
rest
anything
day.
goes.
So it was
Anything
open
goes.
to
It was open.
interpretation. A lot of people did a Lucerne boat trip down to Lucerne town itself.
Supercars and saunas. Love it.
But it was, I mean, that was a real highlight for me. Just, well, because I love Como, but I think those of us who went on that drive, like the moment you cross the border into Italy, it's like all bets are off, because the rules of driving in Italy are pretty much something along the lines of do whatever you want and get out the way of everybody else who are doing what they want to do. And if you can manage that, you're fine. So we were there, you know, procession of sort of sports and supercars heading into the sort of general Como area. -1. But we had a
good mixture of Italian cars.
None of the Ferraris chose to come with us, which is their loss. But we had a good time anyway, and that was brilliant, and we got some great media content out of that. So
interesting thing was that obviously the wife left a phone in the cafe at the top of Gotthard.
Mm-hmm.
We only knew as we were coming down the hill to Tremolo, because you're literally not on the throttle, aren't you? And I've got 70.1 mpg on the Jag readout, and I said to the wife, "Get your camera out quick, get a photo of that. I'm never going to see that again." That's when we discovered that the phone wasn't where it should be.
So you were in the tunnel at the time?
We were coming down the hill to Tremolo before the tunnel. And I just got on the radio and said, "Guys, we're going to have to duck out." So we went back to get the phone, and fortunately she got it back. But then we did the Gran Turismo road, you know, the cobbled.
the Tremolo Pass down.
We did the proper one all the way down.
Well.
Wow.
Really good. It's in remarkably good condition. It's probably better than most Lake District passes anyway.
Yeah.
You know.
Especially if you're in something where the suspension can take it. I felt like I was gonna
There were lots of cars. There was some sort of French car club coming the other way, and it ranged from new 911s to E-types coming up the hill. There were quite a mix of cars, including Ferraris and some supercars.
Yeah.
And they were coming up it fine.
I think in general, for our rest day, the week 2 rest day, people just chose to do what they want, and no one made a bad choice. Everyone sort of seemed to enjoy whatever it was that they chose to do.
The advantage from our point of view is we did Furka again in Newfoundland, and it was perfect sunshine.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So we got to see the two sides of it.
Yeah.
And we were back at the hotel for 4 o'clock. So.
Yeah.
Do you know the story about how we found the Tremolo Road?
No.
So last year,
the Gran Turismo Road.
Yeah, they call it Gran Turismo Road because I was on Gran Turismo just taking pictures of cars because I'm not right good at racing games. A bit like Martin, really.
Yeah. So
Harry's pretty spot on, but I don't really do the racing games, but I was taking photos of cars. And in Gran Turismo, there's a service called Scapes or something like that, scenes. You basically get your car and you put it in like a real life scenario and take like virtual photos of it. And one of these ones, it just says Alpine passes and stuff. So I thought, I found this one. I thought it was really good. And it just says Gotthard Pass, Switzerland. I thought,
I've been there.
We'll be going there next year. This was like last year. And I found out where it was. We were driving past it. And then I found exactly where it was, that location. So I created this virtual photo in the game and then took my real car there last year and actually created the real photo, from that location. And that's, we thought, actually, it's quite a good location to bring more members, really. So that's why we did it this year.
It's a really good spot, actually. Yeah. And when you look at it on a map, it looks like it would be potentially awful to get a supercar down there, but it's not. It's absolutely fine.
No.
There's some horses.
I can vouch for the fact that you can go all the way down to the bottom.
Yeah.
Drops you at the bottom of the Tremolo. So it links to some of those wacky racers roads we kept passing each other on the way up. So
yeah, nice.
Yes. So the takeaway was Switzerland roads are awesome.
Yes.
And
yes, they are.
Yeah, we'll be doing it again next year.
I think everyone had a huge smile on their face.
Absolutely, yeah.
The whole thing about Switzerland is as if the whole country's got OCD. There's just nothing out of place and nothing
It's true.
wrong, is there?
No.
You know, we're talking about 2,500 foot passes and there's pothole. What is that?
Yeah, they're all in absolutely perfect condition, which is amazing considering the weather. So quickly before we move on, just a quick takeaway, like your favourite car that came on the trip. So I'm going to start with Mike. Yeah.
Oh, right, okay.
Oh, it's not your own.
Do you want to go the other way first?
Put you on the spot.
I don't know. Probably one of the Ferraris, the 458s. There were two versions, wasn't there? There was Ian's and there was Kevin's.
Spider and the Coupe. Yeah. So one of those.
I'd probably go for the Spider. I like
458 Spider.
Yeah, 458 Spider.
Strong choice. Mark, what about you?
I would probably say the GT3, the red GT3 with us. I think it's a 991.2 GT3, I believe. I think probably from a road trip experience, there's probably not that many other cars that rival it on twisty roads. But also, combining it with the number plate, I absolutely loved the number plate gone.
The noise it makes as well.
And it's a very noisy car. And a very spirited driver who was happy to slide through a few corners here and there. I could see it in my rearview mirror thinking, well, there's cows ahead, so take it easy. But no, a great driver and great car. And I think if I was to repeat that trip with a bucket list car, a GT3 would probably be the one to do it in.
Fair enough. Also, you had a different set of cars on your drive.
Yeah, I did.
So, and what was it for you?
Equally as diverse, I think, as what you had as well. So for me, my favourite car was sort of the bright lime green V12 SVJ. Just love Lambos, but I'm kind of jealous because I think I'm a bit too tall to fit it one of those. But they're absolutely just beautiful car to see. But I've got to say the respect I've got for in terms of our group was the Series 1 Lotus Elise. It's literally the car must have been going on 20 years old now, getting there. Maybe not 2015, but the car was just epic. There's no air conditioning, no traction control, no ABS, and the car was still, keeping up with the rest of us. It wasn't the slowest car on our trip. That was a concern I'd got, and it was able to handle, and the driver was just, didn't want any special, exceptions. The route was exactly the same as everyone else did. And, my hat off to him because, he put himself through hell and absolutely enjoyed it as well. And he got another car that was also a qualifying car that was capable, but he actually chose to do it in that because he wanted that experience. And, so much respect for that.
Yeah. I think for me, if I had to choose to do it in another car that was on our week, I think I would absolutely choose the 458 Spider. But there's some strong contenders out there, like the DB11 just looked amazing every time, from every angle, in the mirrors, ahead of you on the road, like whatever. Anytime you're just looking at that DB11, it just looked so right in the sort of Swiss environment, with those backdrops and everything. An absolutely stunning looking car.
Wasn't it?
Yeah. And then much like you with the Series 1 Elise, like hats off to Magnum PI in the 308 because
Ian,
what a machine, what a guy driving it, just like the whole, it's not the quickest car, sure, but it absolutely handled everything that was thrown at it. It might have had, there was a few nervy moments in the early part of the trip, but it seemed to sort of settle into right where I'm being used properly, so let's get on with it. And credit where credit's due for just even
about us as a club is just that it doesn't have to be the most expensive car in the world. No. As long as it fits in the category, everyone's welcome.
Absolutely,
and no one's treated any differently because of it. It's just great.
The qualifying list is something like Ferrari any model, and that's a huge chasm of performance difference between something like a 308 and even something that's recent but not that recent in the 458, and yet both two Ferraris, chalk and cheese, but absolutely both.
But arguably, a 308 would probably draw more attention than an F8.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I certainly had
And
some
it probably
admiring
did.
glances. Yeah,
Probably
yeah,
did, yeah.
yeah,
'Cause
yeah. It's
ooh,
definitely
it's an old one.
enjoyed by the public out in particularly when we were parked up for a long period of time in the rest day, etc.
That didn't have aircon either, did it?
No, it didn't.
No.
No, I don't think it had anything.
Neither did
no
Danny's,
mod cons.
Danny's McLaren.
No, that didn't look anything short of toasty in there. But
He was slowly melting. Him and
Yeah.
his dad.
Really?
yeah.
No aircon in his McLaren.
No.
Broken.
It was 39 in Stuttgart.
Yeah. It's damp, moist. Yeah.
It reminds me of that episode of Top Gear with James Mays and the Aston, the race prep Aston.
Yes, they kept the clothes on this one.
Yeah.
Thankfully.
Yeah, thankfully.
No disrespect to Danny and his dad, but we're glad that they did.
Yeah. Their clothing very much not optional on these things. So that's kind of Europe. It was a brilliant trip. Looking back, tons of fond memories and friends made and
Getting
all
lost.
the rest of it. Getting lost, yeah, all of that stuff.
Having to take a group through Zurich city centre if we missed the tunnel.
So we're looking forward to doing it again next
You did
year.
it?
Yeah, you made it.
We made it.
No one died. So so it's bookable now. So if you want to do have this experience that we've been talking about, or something very similar to it,
It's live now.
it is live now on the website. You can go on there and book
If
it.
the spaces are full, put your name down on the reserve list, because it does quite often happen that people do drop out as well, and it has been known to burn through reserve lists.
Yeah,
on trips
quickly,
only. So yeah, do that.
Yeah, don't think you've missed out just because it might look full. I mean, it's not full at the moment, but there's still good chance of getting on if you're on the reserve list. So
But suddenly, if there's a
do that.
really long reserve list, you never know.
there might be. Yeah, exactly.
Mm.
So moving on, there was another kind of weather affected summer event. There's a theme here, 2023.
Yeah.
It's been wet.
Yeah.
So that was Grantley Hall. So the summer barbecue.
Well, you sounded quite positive about it then. It was a great day, but my God, it was absolutely biblical rain
Well,
for the whole day.
we had quite a detailed parking plan about where all the cars were going to go. We knew in advance what cars would arrive in. We spent, a couple of days, organising, setting up where all the cars are going to be. And we couldn't park anyone there.
No, so a bit of context for anyone who doesn't know the event or hasn't been to the event before. Once a year, we host something called Supercar Sunday at Grantley Hall. It is an afternoon barbecue for our members in the beautiful grounds of Grantley Hall. We've got access to the Grantley Suite, which is a dedicated bar and eating area. There's fine dining barbecue food served, and then we have access to all the grounds, of which we do a parking plan to sort of scatter the attending cars throughout the grounds. So it makes for quite a nice visual display, and it's not just like a car park where, well, the plan is it's not just like a car park where everybody's like boxed in together. And we do our best each year to mix it up and have different car brands, parked at the front of the house versus on the lawns and all that sort of stuff. But this year, like you just said, all that completely went out the window. Grantley said, we're sorry, the weather means you cannot park on the majority of the lawn, which is fair enough because it wasn't just drizzle. It had hammered it down for multiple days. And so we did have to just park everybody in two key locations, just all together, didn't we? Like at the front of the house and then at the helipad, which is, I think, you might question why is it split, but there's a certain amount of space at the front of the house. And then there's a certain amount of space at the helipad because the helipad is artificial grass. It's hard standing.
Yeah, there's a few areas that they've got. It's like a hard standing / they've got this like mesh system in the ground.
Yeah,
it is real grass, but it's
Gridded.
It's gridded, so it's like driving on concrete. To some degree, so
yeah.
So we did that. The format of the day, beyond what I've just mentioned, is we also have numerous car dealerships down to offer test drives of various cars to members, which are pre-booked. Usually booking slots get released about 2 weeks before the event, and there's probably a variety of about 12-ish cars to choose from, and maybe 3 or 4 slots per car. So the capacity for the test drives is pretty good.
Still gone in seconds though. You have to be fast.
Yeah, they sell out very quickly, those ones for sure. What was a little bit disappointing was that the weather hindered the amount of test drives that could take place.
Well, it goes without saying, doesn't it? 'Cause,
I mean, because like I said, it wasn't just damp, it was
Yeah.
actively hammering it down, and just wasn't safe to chuck somebody the keys to a car they're not necessarily familiar with, and the insurance liabilities on that side of stuff. So that was affected. But other than that, we had a great day, didn't we? It was, spirits were high, food was great.
Yeah, fair play to McLaren. They still carried on with the Artura.
Yes, yeah.
You know, nice to have a play with that. I was amazed at that I got in it.
Yeah.
6'5" in, I think.
Didn't you have last year you did the Hurricane Spider, didn't you?
I tried to book the Hurricane Spider, but then suddenly realised that my head was above the windscreen.
The Spider's got
Not the
even
whole
less
of my
room
head,
than the
just
Cooper.
part of it. Yeah, so we had to do a quick switch.
I'd just like to see your face. Isn't it?
It would have blown the wig
Yes.
off, wouldn't it? So
So the seats in the Artura are a work of art. They're so comfortable. You wouldn't think that a bucket seat could be as
Is it Richard?
accommodating.
yeah.
You know.
They are,
think-
but they're not standard though. It depends which seats.
Yeah, you have to option them, I
Yeah.
think, but they are amazingly accommodating cars.
It's a nice car. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
the seats are you feel hemmed in, and it feels. I mean, obviously on a test drive you don't do that much mileage, but it felt really comfy, and you thought I could drive all day in this.
Yeah. Definitely,
know,
that's
and-
definitely.
In normal mode, it's just like driving a normal car. Amazing. I think Richard was quite surprised I got in it in first place. To be fair,
Hold it up.
he logged that in his memory banks.
Origami.
6'5" into an Artura does go
Yeah,
amazingly, and it didn't feel cramped. In
Mhm.
fairness to McLaren, you know,
Yeah.
they've got the proportions right on that.
nice one. So that'll be on next year. Again, membership.
Sunnier times.
So hopefully it's sunnier. It's a great event. It's a real good opportunity to meet other members and chat in a way that is not as possible on tours and other driving events or at other static events where there are other, where, for example, sports cars in the park where there's other clubs and it's massive. You tend to sort of
it's lots
spread
more
out a
social,
bit.
isn't it?
It's a bit more
social event.
yeah,
Yes,
it's more
definitely.
intimate, a bit more,
Yeah.
and often members will bring like something really special from their collection, Ford GTs or Diablo SVs or whatever. They'll bring, the sort of whatever they're sort of most proud of, or whatever, along to that one because of the location, the sort of prestige of it, and so on and so forth. So a really great event. Real shame about the weather. But fingers crossed for next year.
Like you say, it's been the theme for the year, hasn't it?
Yeah.
It has, yeah.
Although we got away with it. We attended Ultimate Supercar,
Yes.
and the weather for that one, absolutely stunning.
Was
Amazingly.
really lucky, yeah.
Amazingly.
We
It-
saved up all our weather points, I think.
Yeah, so we were invited to be probably play a key part in the first Ultimate Supercar. So it ran primarily by a company called Straightliners, who I think we've mentioned before. But yeah, we were invited to be a key part of that at Elvington. It was 20th of August that took place, and yeah, I think because unlike a lot of events where if it's a bit wet, it's a bit wet, but you get on with it. Rain would probably have stopped play on the key USP of that event, which is it's a static car show with also runway access for top speed exhibitions, let's call it, demonstrations from a variety of sports and supercars. So some of our members, quite a few of our members took part in that. But yeah, I think we're watching the forecast hourly for the whole week, the whole 2-week run up to it like a hawk, and it swung in our, in the
It
event's
wasn't looking good
favour.
at some points. Was
No, it wasn't.
No,
It
really
wasn't.
wasn't.
I was fully expecting that it would be at least a portion of the day would be rain, and it was actually dry and warm for the whole day.
The ice cream
fantastic.
vendors were,
Yeah,
running full chat the whole day.
Yeah.
That's people streaming past loads of ice cream and stuff. It
Yeah.
was a really good day.
So why I really enjoyed about it is that as not many people know, is that obviously Elvington is one of, if not the longest runway in the country.
Yeah.
So in terms of an opportunity for sports performance supercars to kind of reach top speeds, there's literally very other areas it can be done in the country and done safely as well.
Safely and legally. Yeah.
And the way the layout of the event is structured is that the main viewing area where people see the obviously cars, is not at the start line like it is a majority of other events that's out there. It's literally at the point where the cars are reaching the top speed. That's where they're coming past you. So you're actually getting to witness cars coming past you at 200 miles an hour plus. And there's literally nowhere else but wherever in the country where people can actually see that as a supercar themed event. You know, and it's definitely something we wanted to be involved in.
Yeah, absolutely. There's very few places in the whole world where that I know of that these events are a thing. So it's definitely unique. Not just the fact that there are a number of cars exceeding 200 miles an hour and have the space to do that, but where the spectator parts are right there. You know, and it's not like if you go to like Pendine Sands or something, you're quite a long way away. You know, sort of binoculars distance away from what's going on. Whereas actually you're 40, 50 feet away from the edge of the runway.
And the thing is, this is not a Tesco car park sort of scenario, you know.
No, absolutely.
Which is the other place you can probably see cars doing 200 miles. So, but this is no, definitely not. No, edit that out. But the serious note is that reason why we wanted to be involved with it, because we knew straight liners were involved, and they're literally their experience in that whole sector is second to none. There's no single company out there that I'm aware of that actually, you know, has had the amount of pedigree, you know, and the awareness of everything, safety all around. So the crowds were well back from it, so there's no risk to public on that sort of side of things. And we helped with the organising, so we want to make sure that everything was big screens there, televised. So even though start line was like nearly 2 miles away from where people were physically viewing, that people could see what was going on, see the cars come in, and they felt very much involved in the event wherever they were as well.
So how many cars took part in the event? How many cars were there on the runway in the end?
Roughly 60 cars on the runway. Yeah, 60 was about the capacity.
And the top speed of the fastest car?
227.
That's really fast.
Yeah, so the majority of supercars who did multiple runs were anywhere between, I would say, 200 and 205.
Yeah.
But there's a tuning company called MSL, who I believe did a partnership with another tuning company called Infinity. Sorry if I'm getting the name wrong, but I think that's right. And they brought down a modified 720S, which an incredible amount of modification meant that car. So one of the USPs of Ultimate Supercar is to achieve the top speed run. The top speed is recorded at 1.25 miles, not 1 mile, and that extra little bit beyond the mile is where a lot of the supercars crack the 200. But the MSL car was doing 227 by the mile, and it was its gearbox that stopped it from going further. So there's probably future developments to be had in the gearbox arena.
Yeah.
But just the fact that at the half mile it was doing 180 or something like that. Like the speed was staggering.
There's an onboard video of it.
Yeah.
You can watch the onboard.
Yeah, it's on the Ultimate Supercar socials.
Yeah. It's mind-blowingly fast. It's got to be, for a road-going vehicle. I mean, I've seen onboards of Veyrons and Chirons and stuff, and they don't look anything like how fast this 720S is going. Not even close.
Yeah.
It's seriously fast in a straight line.
And whilst I don't think it's, a Guinness Book of Records official record, they claim, and I definitely believe them on this, that that is the world's fastest 720S to do a half mile and a mile run. I believe the day before at a similar event, which was more focused on the half mile runs, it had done that's actually it had done at the half mile just under 200, and at Ultimate Supercar the next day it just cleared the 200. So I believe it was actually by the half mile doing 201. I think so. Absolutely staggering speed, unbelievable.
One car that definitely stood out for me, as in when I saw it come up on the timing sheet, I was sort of like, what the hell, was a 540C, which was, as far as the McLaren pecking order goes, they're pretty low down. Are they the slowest car?
Well, it's the entry level.
It's the entry level one. And that was doing over 200 miles an hour. It was definitely tuned, but that was rapid. Whichever tuning company was involved in that 540C had definitely developed that to levels that, you know, it was massively faster than the 600 LTs and 570Ss. It was ridiculous. I was like, you know, sure, someone's typed this in wrong, is what I thought when I saw the data originally. But no, it kept on going and repeating the.
And there were a few similar. There were a few surprises of the day. So, we were because we'd worked with straight liners on some of the organisational elements. We were aware of the cars that were booked on and coming, and there was just like a G80. Is it G82, the new M4, whichever the new model number is, just an M4 booked on. And then when the M4 arrived, it was like, oh, where can my support vehicle go?
Yeah,
and I was like, oh, that's interesting. And I don't know whether it was ethanol that the sport vehicle was carrying. I know, sorry, methanol
injection.
I was looking at the top speeds it was set, and I was thinking, my God, like I'm sure that it was like an M4 was clearing like 180 or 190. Like the speeds are really, really high. Yeah. So it became very apparent very quickly that wasn't standard either. But yeah, fair play. Whoever had done the work to that M4, it was equally quite an impressive build. Yeah. But that's just great to see because, you know, at the event we had 3 Ford GT40s, the old ones. I mean, I believe that 1 was original and 2 were replicas.
Yeah.
But still, like there was kind of like all mixture of styles of cars. So we had 3 GT40s run. There was, of course, cars you'd expect of a supercar event like Lamborghini SVs. We had a series of quite a variety of Ferraris. There was definitely a 296, a SF90, and some, just really interesting to see. And then the other end of the scale, then you had you know, an modified RS6 setting good fantastic times. And from a public perspective, I think the variety really added to the day.
Definitely.
It's fantastic to see a Lambo go very fast. But if it was 60 Lambos, you know, probably like get a bit bored quite quickly. But to see that variety was great.
And interesting things like 296 going faster than the SF90.
Yes, yeah.
You know, just things you don't expect to see.
Yeah.
The driver does have something to do with it. There was we did a similar private event at Elvington about a year ago, and one member showed up with a lightly tuned 911 Turbo S and couldn't quite get over 200 miles an hour, and they were a little bit disappointed. And they chucked the keys to one of their friends, who then went and absolutely smashed the 200 mile an hour barrier. So it just goes to show that
207.
Yeah, even in a straight line, there is some driver skill involved in getting these cars to do these things.
It's not driver weight distribution.
It's not driver weight. It's definitely
okay.
Not of those sorts of people. I know where you're going with this.
I know where you're going with this one. We shouldn't really. No, we shouldn't go there.
He
did actually comment that when he took the weight out of the car, he just put it in the back seat. Maybe that was the problem.
He took his clothes. He took some layers. So yeah, okay. All right then.
But so you know, it's interesting seeing a 296 going quicker than an SF90, but you know, there's a
tipping mirrors thing in there.
Oh yeah, so some people were struggling. Say struggling, but you know, there was a couple of like 199.9s, and they chose to fold their wing mirrors in, which is an interesting choice because aerodynamically there's some it's a bit controversial but they did then manage to go on to exceed
4 mile an hour difference.
Yeah,
those that have done it say fold them in,
but then you combine that with that they're burning through fuel, so they're getting a little bit lighter. But I think that really adds to the day because the public are seeing drivers improve their time, and the drivers are loving it, and the public are like, oh, fine. Like the public were audibly cheering when they saw certain cars break 200, who had clearly been on around about the 198, 199 boundary for like the whole morning, and then in the afternoon they broke it, and that was like I said to you, like obviously being a little kind of part of the event from an organizational perspective, I was borderline emotional when I heard the crowd cheer because you know, you're involved in doing something that is bringing genuine joy at a certain time to such a large group of people.
Yes.
And it was absolutely
Great
fantastic
feedback,
to see.
isn't it?
Yeah,
Great.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Still coming in now.
Yeah.
How many people do you think were there cheering? Do you know the
We have
numbers?
roughly 3,000. So for a first event, in sort of the north as well, because a lot of the bigger supercar events do take place mainly in the south.
Yeah.
For a first event of that type in the north, it was really great response from the public, and I think based on all the feedback we've seen and straight liners have seen, there's going to be an even bigger turnout for year 2.
Excellent. Look forward to it.
And don't know when yet. That'll be partially up to straight liners as well, but tickets will be on sale before the end of the year, and applications for the runway will be open before the end of the year. So keep an eye out at
18th of August.
Yeah, 18th of August next year. Yeah.
So if people want to run their car on the runway, are there criteria? There's it sort of a qualifying car list? Are there cars that can't run? What's the deal?
There's a qualifying car list, which is available on the Ultimate Supercar website. Alongside that, it is an application process, because there's a balance between giving enjoyment for the drivers and making sure that you deliver an event for the public. And like I was saying, the variety is such a key part of that.
Yep.
So I love R8s. Sean drives an R8, but we had so many R8 supply this time round. We had to start saying no to them, because we can't say to the public, please come along and watch 60 R8s do top speed runs.
Yeah.
There's no variety there.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is an application process. That being said, if you have something special or different that is not on the qualifying list, please do still apply, because, you know, there are definitely things that will be considered as long as it's variety. And not that this was part of the event, but it kind of was in terms of it was on the runway, but we also had the jet-powered bike, which was a bit of a lunchtime.
Steam-powered.
Steam jet-powered bike.
Steam jet-powered bike, which was a lunchtime showcase in between breaks, the morning and afternoon break. And, you know, that probably you wouldn't usually expect that at a supercar event, but Straight Liners have a very good relationship with the owner of that bike. And we wanted to put on something that was different for the public to see, and great feedback actually on that. To see a steam-powered bike go,
certainly different.
I don't know, quarter of a mile in less than 4 seconds is just absolutely ludicrous.
Yeah, absolutely.
It makes quite an impact when it sets off, doesn't it?
Robert Louis Stevenson, eat your heart out.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think the diversity adds to the event, doesn't it? Because
Definitely.
you see a GT40, an iconic car of the 60s, Le Mans winning car.
Yeah.
And you'll see the performance that does. And in its era, it was ahead of the field, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And then you just see how far the modern cars have come
Definitely.
from that point, you know, in
it's-
a short space of time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. This sort of development's
It
massive.
gives you a benchmark on which to judge, doesn't it?
Yeah. But
From
in
a public perspective.
addition to the moving cars, the cars on the runway, there was also a static display of cars as well.
Over
to enjoy.
130 this time.
130.
Yeah.
Plus, manufacturers brought some cars down and so on. It was a really big event, really, really promising for the future. So, you know.
Absolutely. Yeah, we
your
look forward
tickets.
to being involved in it again next year.
Excellent.
Really do. And that is like, well, that's like the summer kind of came to a close with that event, really, didn't it?
And it started raining again.
And then it started raining, yeah.
Started raining again, yeah.
Was that for Northumberland again?
Yeah. Yeah, fingers crossed we're a bit more luck with Northumberland next year. But yeah, we did a few events since then, which we've spoken about on another podcast. But yeah, they were really the 3 key highlights of the summer.
Yeah. And just looking forward to next summer. So we've got the Alpine Tour again. So the registration for that is open now.
It's first week in July.
First week in July. There's some pre-registrations opened for Dolomites Tour.
Yeah.
The
Which we're
French
looking
Tour.
at running in Dolomites is going to be September, isn't it?
Yes, yeah, September.
And
the French one will likely be end of May, start of June. It's looking like that.
Pre-registrations are open for those already. The Grantley Hall registration will open up at some point in the
new year, I would think.
And Ultimate Supercar tickets will be on sale at some point in the remainder of this year, maybe. So
yes, yeah.
There's a lot to look forward to, but we definitely recommend that you get onto the Supercar Owner website if you want to come along on one of the European tours, because the demand has always been high. And if you pre-register, you'll be the first to know when the actual registration goes live. More than anybody else. And if you're not a member, but you have a qualifying car, become a member. There's literally no excuse.
There's no reason why not to.
Exactly. Basic membership is free, and we'd strongly recommend you go for a full membership. But you know, you can still benefit as a free member. So get signed up. There's
still events and things that people can get involved in, even if they're light members.
Absolutely.
So it's I think we're one of the very few clubs to be so inclusive. Really, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, thanks for listening. We'll wrap it up there. But as always, please give us a like on whatever platform it is that you're listening to this on. If you're on Spotify, you can give us a review. If you're on YouTube, you can like and subscribe and share. If you've got petrolhead friends who are into this sort of thing, who might want to get involved or just like hearing about our stories, give us a share. But most of all, thanks for listening.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Looking for your next car event, car club or automotive venue? Find it with Car Calendar. Discover hundreds of upcoming events, car clubs and car venues on the UK's biggest car events platform. Search by location and radius, favourite your events, buy event tickets with ease and follow your favourite clubs and venues to be the first to hear about their upcoming events. For event organisers, you can list events, clubs and venues free of charge, sell tickets directly in the app and track performance of your event all in one place. Available online and in your app store, just search Car Calendar.